Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer, joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. Jared, how are we doing on this fine Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, we're coming to you on Thursday. Haven't done Thursday shows that often this year, but it's a good day to do one because today is a disaster slate. We talk about it a lot whenever we have double-digit games, but it's just coming at a point of the year where we just got out of the All-Star break, and no joke, and we've had more than this now, but I counted how many guys were on the injury report, including the guys that were out, and we've even got more, like I said, after when I counted it. It was 62 when I counted it on the slate that are out or have a questionable tag. Now it's probably closer to 70. We just found out that Kawhi's going to miss this game tonight. So yeah, teams are completely injury ridden. Teams are tanking. The Larry Markkinen stuff is crazy. Yeah, it's a disaster slate, and there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, definitely a lot to talk about. 10 games in total, 20 teams playing, lots of injury news. Jared, let's get rolling. Let's get this show on the road. Without further ado, let's start off the show like we always do and talk about injuries. You mentioned a lot. I can definitely cover some if you want me to. Just let me know what you want me to cover.
Yeah, I don't really even know where to necessarily start here. Indiana has ruled out the majority of their most important pieces. Pascal Siakam should be ruled out here shortly. Nemhard's a questionable tag, but we know that Smith is not playing as well on top of that. Let's see. I mean, you can basically name every single game when there's a notable piece out. With that said, we just got the Kawhi news. He was one of the biggest question marks on the slate. He's out. So is John Collins. So that makes things really interesting for the Clippers going up against Minnesota. We know that Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams are both question marks for Portland. We already know that Denny Avdia and Shaden Sharp are out for that side. We found out that Jalen Johnson's going to miss tonight's game for Atlanta. That's a really interesting game total, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the game breakdown. Nickeil Alexander-Walker also questionable. It's worth noting that Jonathan Kuminga had played in the last game for Atlanta. We'll talk about what that means here in a little bit. From there, the Heat in that same game, Norman Powell and Davion Mitchell are both questionable. The Kings ruled out a bunch of guys, basically everybody but Malik Monk and DeMar DeRozan. And then you got the guys that are really young and inexperienced playing in huge roles. From there, I mean, like, I don't even know where to keep going, so fill me in here.
Yeah, here we go. So Phoenix is going to be missing Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, just like we know. Brooks is out for a while, along with Booker. Trey Murphy's still a guy who is out for the foreseeable future. Cooper Flag and PJ Washington are out for Dallas, with Daniel Gafford doubtful. Malik Monk is questionable. So on that Sacramento side, they could be missing another one of those guys that are playing really well right now. Yang Hansen, Robert Williams, two centers that are questionable right now for that Portland team. Got Alex Sarr still out for Washington. Stephon Castle is questionable for San Antonio, along with Keldon Johnson. So we got to wait for that news. And I think that's it. Joel Embiid's probable, so that's good. Jayshawn Tate's still out for Houston, but Amon Thompson's going to be back for them. Sad that we have to see the Reed Shepherd show come to an end so quickly. Jalen Suggs is questionable for that Orlando team. I don't know if that's one that you mentioned or not. And I think that's about everything. You already said Laurie and Keontae George are both out for Utah. Yeah, biggest news is definitely the Kawhi stuff, but there's big news everywhere, so should be a fun podcast for sure. Jared, if you're ready, I'm ready. We can head over to top implied team totals.
Yep, let's go.
Let's head over there and talk about the top implied team total, the top implied team today, which is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans facing off against the Utah Jazz. They have a 126 implied team total right now. They are 6.5-point favorites. Over under here is at 244.5. Give me your rundown on what you think about the Pelicans here.
Yeah, there are a lot of green check marks, and that should be stated whenever you have Utah as your opponent. It's usually going to be the case. So with that said, we already talked about, you mentioned it, we have a watered-down lineup for Utah, which is only going to improve things for New Orleans. They're one of the only teams on the slate with a team total above 120. It's also a pace-up spot, as Utah was running at the second fastest pace in the league. And they obviously, It's worth mentioning that the defensive rating had slightly improved, but if you take Jaren Jackson off the floor, that's just going to start tanking again. So with that said, it's pretty much a green light everywhere. We should allow a lot of above the break threes, and I think I'd rather maybe even focus on like what some of this DVP looks like rather than zone scoring, because like we mentioned, the defensive rating had started to get better, and now it's just not going to get any better the rest of the season most likely. So with that said, I will mention here as well that while Trey Murphy and Just Missy are both out, we're starting to see DeJounte Murray come back, and he played 24 minutes in the last game. Also had some comments yesterday that we'll expand on here momentarily, but to my point, like Jordan Poole's now playing minutes again here as well. I think what I want to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, I would love to say you could just fire those guys up, but I think the more attractive pieces are the existing three-point scoring spots for Saddiq Bey, who's been the most consistent guy with Trey Murphy off the floor from that angle. I like Zion's PRA in general from a DVP perspective. I don't really know if you want to mess with DeAndre Jordan, who's playing minutes at center now. So it kind of comes down to like, I do think Zion's one of the better plays on the slate, and I also do and can buy into Saddiq Bey from three. I have a hard time fully on a slate like this. Like maybe yesterday we could have mentioned this, but like on a slate like this where there's 20 teams, I don't know if I want to trust a three-point scoring spot for a Jordan Poole or a DeJounte Murray when they're playing 25 minutes.
See, I almost would agree with you, except for the fact that like Poole's taking like a majority of his shots from 3-point range. Like in the last game that he played in, he shot at the ball 11 times. 10 of those shots were 3-point attempts, Jared. Talking about the game before that against Philly, shot the ball 15 times in 24 minutes. It's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. He shot 11 3-pointers in that game. Like, all of these shots are coming from the 3-point line. With how bad Utah is from the 3-point line, I almost feel like Jordan Poole has to be included in there, even if it's just like a ladder-esque play for threes. It does feel like the upside is certainly there in a Reed Shepherd-esque way, where Reed Shepherd is essentially the same thing, right? All of his shots come from 3-point range, and if he's going up against a bad defense, it's something that you have to at least consider. So I like the Poole spot. I do agree with you that like Saddiq feels a lot safer. Some of these other guys feel a lot safer. Ultimately, though, like Zion's the clear top guy here. Like DVP aside, there is just so much usage to gain without Trey Murphy on the floor that I find it hard to fade the spot. And I know, like you said, like zone scoring doesn't necessarily line up. They aren't really a bad restricted area defense, but I not only think that is because of Jaren Jackson's limited play, I also think that's because teams don't really feel a need to test the restricted area when they can chuck up a bunch of threes and have a good time. Sure. Zion's not going to take that option. Zion's going to drive it in, and I don't think there's anyone on the other side to stop him. So I like the Zion play. I like the Pelicans overall. I feel like they're in a really good spot. Only thing that would give me some hesitancy towards these plays is the usual tanking allegations. But I guess the Pels don't really have anything to worry about, right? Because they don't really need to tank for anything. So it's just like, does it get too blowout worthy here?
Yeah, so that's the thing that I want to discuss and bring up next, because there's some wrinkles in here. Number one, the comments from DeJounte Murray. He basically went on X yesterday, maybe it was the day before, and just completely started like quote posting over people that were talking about him. Like he said that he was like talking about like, are we a contending team? No. Can we reach the top spot? Like in terms of top six, he says no. But can we build some momentum playing together and try to hit the play-in? Like you're talking a lot of, you're asking for a lot here. I understand that some of these players are, most of them are probably actually trying, but it's worth noting that the Pelicans and Jazz are playing 2 games in Utah, and the next one is on Saturday. So on top of that, the other wrinkle here is that New Orleans is 17-42 and the Jazz are 18-40. So which team wants to tank more? I don't know. So yeah, there's some wrinkles in here. Is the spot really, really good on paper for New Orleans? Absolutely. Can random things and weird things happen in this stage of the season? Absolutely.
Yeah, sadly they are not all that equipped to get to that 10th seed, right? Like Clippers are there right now. They have like 10 games to make up. Yeah. It's pretty far-fetched to say the least, like you said. But I do agree with the fact of like you got to get time playing together. This is the squad, right? Like this is you're kind of stuck with this team. You're not
They have
getting
committed
anything
to
in the
that.
draft, so getting time together, getting play time together definitely does help towards the next year and all that jazz. So Utah's certainly not playing for much at all. They have full intentions of tanking, and yeah, I like the Pels upside here. All right, anything else on this team? If not, let's move on to the next.
Can you make a considerable argument that Zion's the best play on the slate?
I don't know. I'm researching it for the first time with you, bud.
That's
So,
fair.
uh,
I will
as much
say
as I've
that I
seen,
think
yes, but I think
I
there's
will.
other guys.
I will say, as we leave this alone here, moving forward, I think you can consider him a top 5 play.
Yeah, I can definitely I can understand the upside of the spot overall and see that. Excited to talk about the rest of the slate for sure. So let's keep the ball rolling here and talk about this next game, which is going to be, or this next team, which is going to be the Atlanta Hawks with a 123.25 implied team total. They are 9.5-point favorites. Over under is at 235.5 here. Like you already mentioned, they are without Jalen Johnson in this one. Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Zachary Rishisher are both questionable for this one, but it does feel like we have started to see what Jonathan Kuminga can do outside of Golden State. A great first game for his Hawks debut. Had 24 minutes, scored 27 points in those 24 minutes, 7 rebounds, 4 assists as well. Was absolutely balling, and now kind of has the court open for himself against a really bad Washington team. Give me your thoughts on the Kuminga spot and everything else that has to go with Atlanta today.
Yes, I will get to Kuminga. We'll just start by saying that this is technically this is just going to be a green light matchup for a lot of these guys, and taking Jalen Johnson off the court essentially just gives up like a guy that's going to hit every single tracking metric that we offer. So from that angle, yes, a lot does open up. I do think that when you're looking at how to attack Washington right now, they are allowing a lot of threes in general, the 7th most above the break, the 7th most corner threes as well, and they're just getting destroyed in the restricted area with or without Alex Starr available. I do think that this is interesting for CJ McCollum, who I guess take the revenge narrative with a grain of salt. Just kind of had to be the guy that was the salary part of the Trae Young deal. But anyway, he is making 2.5 threes from above the break over the last month, leading the team there. Nikhil Alexander Walker would get a 3-point bump as well. Now we get to the Kuminga part. He does line up extremely well from a restricted area scoring perspective. He would be one of the heavier driving candidates on this team that can do well in that zone, and obviously no one's going to be able to stop him in terms of the opponent on the other side. What we get to now, because everything lines up well from like a DVP angle for the Kuminga stuff, but I want to run this by you. I did some deep diving on what happened when Jalen Johnson went down, and they started Mohamed Gouye, and basically I ran a 2-center lineup in the last matchup in the second half to start things out, and that was before the Kuminga 18-point third quarter. So with that said, what would you expect? Because I kind of estimated a ballpark of 25 to 28 minutes for Kuminga. I'm not necessarily concerned if he does not start. What do you think about that situation?
Yeah, I think that you shouldn't really be expecting like an automatic like, oh, Jalen Johnson's out, he's gonna get 30 plus minutes. Like I'd still expect
Right.
his minutes in the mid 20s for the foreseeable future. I think that they'll probably try to test the waters to see what they've got and then kind of go from
Yep.
there as this Atlanta team goes on. I mean, you got to remember Kuminga is a free agent after this year, so showing him off and showing off his talent is not to the best interest of Atlanta if they want to keep him on. Like, you want to get him on a cheaper contract to re-sign to, then you don't want him like bursting out and having all these great moments. You kind of want him to settle down. Hasn't gone that well for them the first game through, but still. Yeah, and I think like this Atlanta team's more focused on other things with their roster as a whole. Like, even if Jalen Johnson is out, they're still focused on incorporating Nah, who they gave a big free agency contract to. Desmond Daniels is still a main focus. I think Onyeka is still a big focus for them, who walks into a really good spot here. Like, I think they have more things that they're interested in incorporating on offense. I think Kuminga's kind of his own force whenever he gets on the floor, just in terms of I don't want to say ball hogging, but being a heavy usage player. So like he's gonna do his thing, but I think there's plenty for Atlanta here. I don't think it has to be Kuminga or bust.
Yeah, these two teams just faced off as well. Kind of got to throw that out the window just a little bit, considering the Johnson spot. Okongwu had 10 points in that game, but I do want to mention over the last 7 games, the Wizards have allowed the second most points to centers. So, yeah, I mean, there's upside here for a lot of things. Intrigued to find what the starting lineup would look like.
For sure. When they face off?
The 20, was that, no, is this right?
I don't think they faced off for a while. Maybe I'm
Sorry. I think
Yeah,
I'm
last
looking
time they
at the wrong
faced
thing.
off was or no.
No, they faced off 2 days ago.
No, you're right. Yeah, they faced off 2 days ago. Sorry, I saw that and I saw it
No,
the
you're
most
good.
recent
I was
matchup
confused as
and
well.
I was a little lost there. Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of upside for Kuminga here. I think there's certainly a lot of upside for others too, though. You got to remember that was like a really big blowout game, so starters didn't
Yeah.
see much time past the second or in the fourth quarter, and things were a little wishy-washy there. It could be another big blowout game. It's important to mention that like Washington or Atlanta is a 9.5 point favorite right now, so like that's not blowout territory, but like it certainly can get there. All right, anything else here? If not, let's move on to this next team.
Last thing on the Atlanta side, in the event things happen, because we also did mention at the top of the show, but I should mention it again here that Nah and Risa Shea are questionable. So things could vault their way into Kuminga just being an elite play if those two guys are out.
For sure. Can definitely get behind that. All right. Let's move on to this next team, which is going to be the Dallas Mavericks here. They have a 121.5 implied team total. They are 7.5 point favorites. Over under is at 234 in this game against Sacramento here. Injury wise, we know Coop is still out. We know PJ Washington is out as well. And Daniel Gafford is doubtful for this one. Give me your thoughts. What do you like about Dallas?
I like a lot. And I guess the first thing is like, hopefully this game stays close, and I think it should. But Houston just absolutely blew the doors off this team last night. And we saw Reed Shepard have himself a fantastic day. That could translate directly to a Klay Thompson or Max Christie spot. We also saw Şengün have like a 70 fantasy point game, and that could be a direct result of, I hate trusting in Marvin Bagley, but like that opens the door up for a really good spot for him, considering that Gafford is as close to being out as possible right now. I guess we'll see what happens with the rest of these guys. Like I do think Middleton's expected to play, though there are some swirling, not even rumors, it's actually news that he is in discussions of either does he want a buyout or does he want to stay with the Mavs the rest of the season. It's noteworthy that buyout stuff is due by March 1st. So I don't know. We could see a late Middleton scratch, I guess. But he definitely is in a good spot if he plays. I like the Najee Marshall stuff. He's been off for a couple of games, but I do think that he could bounce back in a big way with those guys out. Yeah, I think that you can attack the Kings from a multitude of angles. They give up a lot of above the break threes, the third most mid-range field goals, the fourth most paint shots. So you can kind of destroy them from everywhere. We saw Reed Shepard, who was one of our favorite plays yesterday, go off in the spot. I mentioned before the Şengün stuff. This team can do some really insane damage in this matchup.
Yep, they sure can. Should also be noted that Marvin Bagley played for this Kings team for quite a while. He's going to slide into that starting role.
Yes.
I love the Marvin Bagley narrative. I forget where I used it last. It was with his last team before he joined the Mavs this year. I think that was Washington, and I think he played against Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken. He did pretty well in that game. He only played 19 minutes, Jared, in that Sacramento game. He had 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists in 19 minutes. Like that's significant. And now he can get like a 30-minute role here. I think that's a very not likely. It's a possibility at the very least. We just saw him go off for 22 against Brooklyn just last game in that 19-minute stretch again. He's played in the mid-20s with the Mavs before, and now that Gafford's out, like I just don't know if there's a lot of options. So like I've always been very heavy on like Bagley hates this Kings team. They didn't give him a chance to really excel after getting picked 4th in that draft. Yeah, I'm instantly, as soon as I saw the Bagley against Sacramento play, it's like one that I'll instantly latch onto. Yeah, I like the spot.
Yep, it's a massive narrative. So yeah, I like that one a lot.
All right, anything else here for Dallas? If not, do you want to talk about one more team? Do you want to move on? Where do you want to go?
We should talk about one more team, I think.
Let's talk about one more team. Let's move on to the fourth highest implied team total, which belongs to the Charlotte Hornets here. They have a 121.25 implied team total. They're 13-point favorites. Over-unders at 229.5. They're facing off against the Pacers. It's definitely a game where they can get into blowout territory. They have like the second best record since 2026 started. Like a whole bunch of stuff looks really good for this Charlotte team right now. They also have a fully healthy lineup, which was not the case when the All-Star break ended, or when the All-Star break, when the All-Star break ended, they had Miles Bridges out, they had Moussa Diabate out, but now they have the lineup fully back intact and ready to go. What do you like about Charlotte here?
Yep. Add on to that Grant Williams is playing well and Kobe White is playing well, so it's kind of a mess. And on top of that, I do think that they should absolutely smash in this game. This is a huge, huge pace-up spot for them. They run at one of the slowest paces in the league, and that has, resulted in them winning and having a really strong defense. So you like the pace-up spot in this situation. Indiana's going to miss a lot of guys, and from there, they are allowing a lot of paint field goals, and they're allowing a lot of the restricted area shots as well. It's actually the most over in the NBA over the last 30 days from the paint and from the restricted area specifically. The problem that I have is Charlotte's just a really, really heavy 3-point taking and scoring team, and Indiana is just not. That's just not the defensive mindset. And so even if their personnel is out, I think they'll try to limit that. LaMelo's 5th in the NBA from above the break. Knipple's 8th. Brandon Miller's 11th. Miller's one of the only guys that can probably I might feel okay with, but I think this is more of a Bridges Diabate scoring spot from those inner zones. I have a tough time really, really getting behind the main guys from 3 here. So I kind of have some hesitancies on the Charlotte angle, but Diabate is extremely strong here.
Yeah, I can certainly get behind the hesitancies at the very least. I will say that the main thing that scared me when I first originally saw this matchup is the 3-pointers made case that you had. Jared, here's my fun fact of the day. Can you name the top 3-pointers made scorers in the NBA since January 1st? Hopefully that all made sense.
Is it Ball, Knipple, and Miller?
It is Ball, Knipple, and Miller, exactly.
Yeah,
it's Ball, Miller, Knipple, Doncic, Edwards. Yeah. That's completely they're all 3 the top 3 scorers. That's insane. That's ridiculous. Yeah. So points to their excellency on the season, or at least since 2026. It does point to a case where you can make the case that this is a pretty bad matchup for all 3 of them. Pacers have done a great job of stopping above the break threes and threes altogether. Corner threes are included here. They've done a really good job against corner threes as well. So all in all, I think it's somewhat of a tough case to make for these Charlotte guys. At least the guards, right? The guards and Miller, the small forward. I think Bridges comes into a great spot. I think Moussa can come into a great spot. Maybe you're looking at Ball assist instead or something. But I think that some guys have good spots here, but you're fading the 3-pointer guys.
Yeah, it's frustrating when you get a spot like that, because it's we could say on the podcast or in our breakdowns this isn't we're hesitant, and then they could still go out and collectively make 15 together combined. So yeah, it's tough. So initially, this is a total fade market for me in terms of getting those 3-point scoring spots. I'm focused on Bridges. I'm focused on Diabate scoring, and I know that can also be sweaty, especially in a 13-point road contest. So I don't know. Charlotte kind of falls off a little bit for me, but I understand why they could absolutely demolish here.
Yep, for sure. All right. Anything else? If not, we'll head over to hottest shooters, Jared.
Nope, we can move over.
All right, let's move over to hottest shooters. I'll let you take the floor first. Where do you want to go?
I think where I want to start is talking about the Philly guys, because I do like their pace-up matchup. We didn't get to cover them in the highest applied team totals, but they're definitely up there. Embiid has had 41 plus PRA in the last 9 of 11 games. Maxey has scored 28 plus points in 6 of the last 7, and that's coming off of a rather lackluster January and heading into the All-Star break. So he's definitely feeling it again. I do think that both of those guys line up decently well against the Heat, though I'm a bit hesitant and completely backing Embiid. I think it's more of a Maxey game in general. But yeah, I think both of those guys are definitely showing out since the break.
Yeah, I can certainly get behind that. Wanted to bring Desmond Bane to the forefront here. He's really been on a pretty incredible stretch. The game against the Lakers last game was meh. It was okay. But before that, we had seen him score 30 plus in back-to-back games. We've seen him have 20 plus points in 8 out of the last 10 games as well. This is also a Houston team that, like, if you're going to pick a weakness against this really tough defense, it is the small forward position at the end of the day. And that's kind of what you classify Bane as long as Suggs ends up playing, that's what Bane is. So Bane in a good spot, even with the tough matchup against Houston. It's played really good defense and certainly has been a hot shooter. All right, who do you got next?
We'll talk about Benedict Mathurin here for a second. We said at the top of the show, Kawhi, John Collins are both out now, and you get a spot for Mathurin where he had been coming off the bench for the Clippers, and now I think that they have no choice but to start him. And even if they don't, he'll still be an insane usage monster when he's on the court. He's had 20-plus points in 3 straight games, and if there's anything that Minnesota is doing poorly right now, they are allowing a lot of guard scoring. So I think that fits into Mathurin's wheelhouse, and this could be, I'm not going to say his best game because he had a 30-plus point game for the Clippers a couple of games ago, but he definitely feels like a nice, like, if you want to take it a risk of 25-plus points, I think this is a shot to do that.
For sure. I'm going to the three-pointers made category for this one. I did want to bring up Onyeka in this light at least. He has made 2+ three-pointers made in 8 of the last 10 games. It's pretty impressive from him. He's also gone over this 2 line quite a bit. We've seen 4 from him recently. We've seen 3s a lot from him. I really like Onyeka from that side of things. And I think there should be a big bump in usage without Jalen Johnson.
Absolutely. I will end this because I didn't have many more other than this one. I think Drew Holiday has some, like, the offensive production is certainly just been there, considering Shaedon Sharpe and Denny Avdija have been out, and there's no one that they've really been going to outside of Drew Holiday from that angle. We already mentioned the centers are all questionable, so the one staple here is that Drew Holiday is putting up some numbers right now. 19-plus points in 6 of the past 8 games.
Yeah, last one I'll mention is Ant. 38-plus PRA in 8 out of the last 10 games. We've seen a lot of good stuff from Anthony Edwards recently, especially with 3 straight games of 40-plus PRA. And I know the matchup against the Clippers looked tough, but without Kawhi Leonard there, like, that defense falls off a cliff almost. I guess you do have Derrick Jones. That is the reason they got him to be a tough defender. But outside of those two guys, or outside of Derrick Jones, I guess just now, Edwards looks like he's in a really good spot matchup-wise.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, yes, Jones certainly can be a pest at times. I think he's like the Herb Jones light, I guess, if you were to call it that. I don't know. I think without Kawhi there, it's going to be Ant Edwards going for 30.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, we'll head over to round table.
Nope, we can move forward.
All right. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I bring some of our top plays to the table to talk about. Those plays are in different statistical categories, and those categories are points, rebounds, and assists. Jared, I'll let you kick it off first. Where do you want to go for points?
Yeah, there are so many good point spots on this slate. You have a really good amount of things to talk about for roundtables. So if we miss a play, it's likely just because there are so many to talk about. So with that said, we will go. We already kind of talked about a few of them. So I will try to bring up a different one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I have to mention this spot. I don't know how much we'll mention Houston now that Thompson's back, but this is an electric Kevin Durant spot on paper. The Magic have kind of had 2 weaknesses all year. They have a lot of point scoring to point guards, and to the small forward position. I understand that Houston's going to label, they'll switch around KD in the 2 and the 3, and I just feel like in general you just kind of lean into the small forward matchup here. I do think that it could apply to Tari Eason as well, but I really love the spot for KD in the mid range and in the paint in this matchup.
Yeah, can certainly get behind that. Definitely understand the upside there. I'm going to go to this Sacramento team, which sounds kind of gross when you first say it, obviously, because they have so many guys out right now. But It's hard to ignore the Maxime Renaud upside that we've seen. Like, we've seen potential, like, first-team all-rookie stuff from him. And this would be more of a play that I'd approach from points and rebounds. But still, the number one thing we've wanted against this Dallas team is centers that can score in the paint. Maxime Renaud is the best player to do that on this team. He's fallen short in a couple of the recent matchups, but he's had matchups against Houston, against San Antonio, against Orlando. Like, he's had some really tough matchups recently. I think this is a really easy matchup that he can exploit and have a really good role in. So Maxime Renaud's the guy. I'm labeling him for points right now, but really what I would take him for is points plus rebounds.
I will move over to the rebounding side of things where, again, we have a lot of elite plays. I think that this point spot is completely terrible for Kyle Filipowski, who obviously should play 30-plus minutes. The dude is 7,500 on FanDuel right now, Josh. That's the state of where Kyle Filipowski is at this moment. With that said, the point scoring spot's bad, but this is an elite rebounding spot. The Pelicans have allowed the second most rebounds to centers on the season, the third most to the last 7 games. And then on top of that, since February 10th, the Pelicans have allowed centers to hit the rebounding markets at 78%.
Nice. Can certainly get behind that. I am going to go to this rebounding spot for... Yeah, we'll go with Joel Embiid. I was going to go with the Kyle Filipowski spot, which is why I'm kind of scrambling. But I like the Embiid rebounding spot. He's rebounded well against Miami in the past. Miami's allowing a lot of rebounds to the center position right now. You kind of got to hope that you can push past the injury stuff and hope for the best, because I know he did get kind of re-injured. I know he's back to being probable. So you just kind of got to push past all that and just hope for the best here. But like, I think at the top of what Embiid does, he could have a really good game here rebounding-wise. So, Embiid rebounds is where I'll go. All right, assists, where are you going?
I'll go with the Drew Holiday spot. And I think it's a really, really good point-scoring spot, but on top of that, it's also a really nice assist spot. The Chicago Bulls have allowed the second most assists to the point guard position over the last 7 games, third most on the year. And obviously, like we said before, no Avdia, no Shaedon Sharpe. This is a green light Drew Holiday situation.
Yeah, I can certainly get behind that. I will go to this spot for Jalen Brunson. Point guards against Milwaukee have just been tearing up the assist markets recently. So I like this Brunson spot. I know there's not a lot of consistency here at this 6.5. Oh, am I looking at a game for tomorrow? Sorry, I am looking at props.com.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I am. All right, let me find a new one then. Jared, do you potentially have another one that you want to talk about while I try to find one?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You can make a case for both guys in the Sacramento and Dallas game. The problem is that we don't know if Malik Monk is playing, and on top of that, like, I guess, are you trusting Brandon Williams or like the roulette of point guards for Dallas? I'll just say, like, this is a really good assist spot for what I consider to be Najee Marshall. I do think that he gets a really awesome usage role, and I think that Middleton does play, but at the same time, no Washington, no Flag, and I just think that there's a lot going for this Dallas side who can put up like 125 plus points today.
For sure. I could certainly get behind that. I will go instead to Colin Gillespie here. This Phoenix team, we haven't talked a lot about the Phoenix Lakers game. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of low-scoring games recently. They have had back-to-back games that have had under 200 total points, which is pretty insane in today's NBA world. But I think this one could definitely go over with the Lakers defense and how they're playing right now. Colin Gillespie's kind of forced to be a pass-first guy when you have Jalen Green and Grayson Allen on the team, and both of them are just chucking up shots right now. It's hard not to be a guy that has to pass the ball a lot. So I like the passing game for Gillespie. Assist is definitely the way to go. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, let's head over to Two Minds Are Better Than One.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of plays, so we can't give them all out. But yeah, there's quite a bit to look at here. Just make sure that if you're doing this, that you're just accounting for injuries and expectations.
For sure. All right, let's head over to Two Minds Are Better Than One. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I go back and forth, each of us selecting 2 player props each. We throw these together into a parlay with our goal for the parlay to have odds of around plus 100 to plus 150. We did end up, well, I don't know. It depends on if you have early protection or not where you play it, because where we play it over on DraftKings, so we have early protection. That protected us on the Jamal Murray spot, thankfully. Everything else ended up cashing relatively easily, so it was a very good night, Jared. I'll let you go first. Where do you want to go for this one?
I will say that I'm just falling in love with this Benedict Mathurin spot tonight. I do think that the matchup is extremely nice. Minnesota has allowed the second most or third most, points to shooting guards over their last 7 games. And on top of that, we've already talked about it. Kawhi's out, John Collins is out. This team needs some kind of guy that can just score and get buckets. He's had 20 plus points in 3 straight games. On top of that, he's playing 30 plus minutes in a majority of these games on the Clippers now, and is doing really well in a multitude of facets. If you wanted to include rebounds, you certainly could. I think we just get him for, I don't know what the market looks like now, but 20 plus points is obviously probably juice now at this point.
20 plus is minus 271.
Oh, maybe they're expecting him not to start. Either way, I think that he has a monstrous role. I would not be surprised if his usage rate was over 30% tonight. So 20 is fine.
Yeah, let's go with 20. Definitely can get behind that. I am going with this Marvin Bagley spot that we mentioned earlier. I love the revenge narrative matchup. I love the matchup overall against a Dallas team that's been inept at the center position. I really like Marvin Bagley. So Marvin Bagley for 20 plus PRA.
Love it. I'm just making a mental note for myself to not forget about Bagley today. With that said, I think what I like to do is take a PRA for Zion, and I understand that line's going to be pretty monstrously high, but I don't know, 30. What does that seem like a number
30's
that we
perfect.
can make work? Okay.
Yeah, 30's perfect. Minus 361, so definitely solid there. And I have to find something for this last play. Yeah, we're going to go with the consistency here. I really like what I've seen from Desmond Bane recently. He has kind of taken over as the lead scorer. No, Paulo definitely had a really good game last game out, but just like over this last 10-game sample size without Franz, we've seen Desmond Bane really step up. So we'll go with Bane for 12-plus points here. So altogether, we have Bagley for 20-plus PRA, Benedict Mathurin for 20-plus points, Zion Williamson for 30-plus PRA, and Desmond Bane for 12-plus points. Altogether gets us at plus 128. Jared. All right, let's get out of here, man. Give your final thoughts. What do the people need to know about today's 10-game slate?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, obviously. I think that the main news that we're waiting for at this time has kind of dwindled down a little bit. With that said, though, we know that we have to keep an eye on the Stephon Castle stuff. No Andrew Nemhard would just mean more blowout risk for the Charlotte game. Keep an eye on the centers for Portland, and the Miami Heat we didn't talk about much, but they could possibly be without Norm Powell and Davion Mitchell. I liked whatever shooting guard was on the court for Miami in that event, so just keep an eye on that. We could have some more injuries for the Hawks. Alexander Walker is still questionable. Reese Shea still questionable. So yeah, I think that again, like last night, there were a couple games that might have looked gross in terms of standings, and I'm trying to remember what that game was. But the game that, like 2 games on the slate that make a lot of sense tonight, that feature games or feature teams that are just not good teams this year. Sacramento and Dallas feels like it's an electric game, and so does that New Orleans-Utah game. So both of those ones look really, really enticing on paper, and you got a lot of 240 game totals on the slate. It's a landmine of a day.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely have to account for those injuries. Feels like a major point of the slate, and definitely some solid spots overall. Just got to hone in on which plays are the plays, and I feel like, from what I can tell, you've done a good job of that so far. So let's have a good night. Jared, you got anything else? If not, we'll get out of here.
We'll be back tomorrow to cover the smaller 5. I think it's like a 5 or 6 game main slate, so not too shabby of a Friday.
Yep, not too shabby at all. All right. Thank y'all for listening. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. We will see y'all tomorrow.